are times in the life of a musician where you're going to be given a chord progression and you're going to be told, play the best solo you could play over this. And you have no preparation because you're in a session or you're at a gig or you can't prepare. You need something. Well, that something is in this video. I'm going to share with you a tip that can literally save your career. That's coming up. Hi, my name is David Wallman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players like you find your voice on the instrument, develop it to tell your own musical story. This, the guitar, is our tool. This is our instrument. This is our pencil. We use the pencil to tell the story that is within. This doesn't tell the story. We're the one using this to tell our story. And today we're looking at a way to figure out which scale to use. This is a question that guitar players ask all the time. It's a very valid question, a very important one. Now, quick preface, this is not going to work over everything, but it's going to give you a perspective that will help you with everything. We're going to take a very simple example here. I'm going to loop a section of a backing track that you can get for free if you watch this video till the end. I'll tell you how to get it. Completely free. And I looped a section here. This is kind of a melodic rock type of thing. Here's what we have. This is a B minor chord, followed by an F sharp minor chord. Then we have a D major chord, C sharp minor chord, and F sharp minor. And we're going to loop that. The chords are not important for now, but that's what we have. Okay? Now, what do you play with this? Let's say that you're on the spot, you have to play this. You're at an open jam night or someone's paying you a lot of money to play over this. What do you do? Well, the first thing, and this is mentally, we're going to break down what happens mentally. The first thing is really look at the chords. This is all based on the fact that chords and scales are intimately linked. Chords are extracted from scales, but we can also do it the other way, which is what we're doing here. Scales are extracted from chords. Now, if your chord progression is made of multiple keys, this is not going to work. But again, stick with me till the end because this is going to open up, hopefully, your mind to new ideas that will help you along the way. And there's a lot of things we can do with this. We're actually going to get on the computer. I'm going to use a software that I use all the time for my lessons. It's Neck Diagrams. I highly recommend it. neckdiagrams.com. Awesome piece of software. And we're going to open up the software and create a blank neck diagram, guitar neck diagram. And on it, we're going to enter the dots for the chords of the chord progression. Now, you might say, which chord shape? There's a lot of shapes. Yes, there are a lot of shapes, but for this I'm going to use basic chord shapes. I'm going to use some bar chords. We have some major stuff, some minor stuff, and I'm going to contain everything in this zone of the fretboard. I could pick this one, I could pick this one, it doesn't matter, but try to stick to a limited range on the fretboard. Let's get to the software. Here we are in neck diagrams. Bear with me till the end, it's going to make sense. I've got two empty charts here. On the top chart, I'm going to write down the chord shape that I'm going to use for that first chord, which is a B minor chord on the backing track. So I've got that, and I'm going to transfer that chord on the lower chart. Stick with me. All right, so we've got our first chord entered. The second chord was F sharp minor. I'm going to write the shape that I will use, and we're trying to stick to a narrow area of the fretboard. That's the shape I'm using, and I'm going to transfer that shape on the lower one, on top of what I already have. So some notes are going to be, the same, but that's what we have. So the bottom chart now is a combination of the B minor chord and the F sharp minor chord. All right? I'm sure some of you realize what's happening here. The third chord that we had was a D major, multiple ways of playing D major. I'm going to stick to the same area of the fretboard. I could use this shape right here. This is a D major shape, and what's going to happen, I'm going to transfer that right here. I just had to add one note. The other notes were already taken. Did we have another chord in the chord progression? Yes, we did. We also had a C sharp minor, which I could play. Right here. I'm going to transfer that right there. And then we're back to F sharp minor, which we already entered. So the bottom chart, which is the only chart we need now, I'm going to delete that one, is basically a combination of all the chords of my backing track. And it's starting to look like something. Now here's where it's important to know your intervals or have neck diagrams. This diagram right here, I can select any of these notes and consider that note as the root of my key. I'm going to make things simple. I'm going to take the first chord of my backing track, which was B. It was right here. And I'm going to tell the software that this note is a root. And all the other notes are going to be intervalized. They're going to be made as intervals. And now what do we have? We have a root, a second, a flat third. There's no fourth here, right here, but there is a fourth here. So we can move that here if I want to. A fifth, a sixth, a minor seventh. That's 7 notes, and all these notes are kind of unique. In other words, there's no like flat 7 and 7, or there's not a minor 6th and a major 6th at the same time. If we did have that, and this is where I might lose some people, but that's okay, just zap out what I'm about to say. If you do have, by doing this, if you find that you have 2 intervals that have different types, so minor 6th and major 6th, we're dealing with a modulation, change of key. Not here. So here we have a scale with a root, second, minor third, fourth, fifth, sixth, minor seventh. What is that? For the theory buffs out there, the Dorian mode. So that backing track is in B Dorian. But you don't need to know that. All you need to see here is that we took the chords, superimposed them, and we had this being drawn out. Now that you saw how chords and scales are intimately linked, how can we use this? A lot of different ways. The first way is mentally to do this exercise in real time in front of a chart, a chord chart, and just improvise that way. So the scale that we extracted from the chords is going to work, and we're going to demonstrate that here. I'm going to loop the backing track, play that B Dorian mode. It all works, right? And that B Dorian mode is just a combination of the B minor, the F sharp minor, the D major, all the chords of that backing track. That's one way. Now, when you're facing a huge chord progression, it's sometimes difficult to do that exercise. So why not, instead of looking at all the notes of all the chords, if you know and if you have a feeling that the chord progression is in one unique scale, is diatonic instead of a modulation, well, you can simply look at the roots of these notes, which are B, F sharp, D, C sharp. Those are the roots. So you have 4 notes to play with. 4 notes are enough, really, to give you clues as to what full scale we're dealing with. And just with 4 notes is like you could do. You just play, you can use octaves, like maybe we have. That lick would work there, probably. It should. It does. That's a start. And then your ear can guide you through the rest of the chord progression. And then as you're starting to play that way with just 4 notes, that buys you a little time to focus on one of the chords, maybe B minor, and focus on one extra note to add to those 4. Maybe this one. Any note of B minor would work. That's another way to use that. Yet another way is to, instead of focusing on each chord as they appear, so for instance, B minor, F sharp minor, you could do that, but to sound a little more interesting, just use the fact that all these chords are part of the same scale. Therefore, any notes of any of these chords will work in that scale. And since that scale will work on all of these chords, that also means that you can take any of the chords, even chords that haven't been played yet, and play them as the first chord is being played, and that will work. Since chords and scales are all linked, you might need to rewatch this several times. But for this, we're starting with the B minor. The next chord is an F sharp minor. Then we have a D, a C sharp. Well, let's focus on, let's say the D major, for example. Could be any others. The D major, and I'm gonna think in terms of, okay, this is a D major chord. Got this voicing, this voicing, this voicing, multiple voicings. I'm gonna phrase using one of these voicings, but not when the D happens. I'll just play over that voicing throughout the chord progression and let my ear guide me, but let's just try. I'm gonna hit play and I will phrase using that D major chord. Nice, right? And I could continue. Right? And so forth. Now, obviously, if you just do that, at some point, it's going to be repetitive. You want to find more. That's where you can pick another chord. But that's kind of the idea. Another idea is to take any of these chords, B minor, F sharp minor, D major, C sharp minor, replace these chords with the corresponding pentatonic scales. A minor pentatonic will fit a minor chord most of the time. There's always exceptions, but you're pretty safe. A major pentatonic will fit a major chord. So for this, let's say that we're focusing on that F sharp minor, which is later in the chord progression. Phrase using F sharp minor pentatonic. It works. A D major pentatonic, because we have D major chord at some point. And then mix everything together. C sharp minor pentatonic. You're just taking any of those chords, replacing it with a pentatonic scale. I know we covered a lot in this lesson, but you can rewatch it as many times as you want. I actually recommend that you do that so that you don't miss anything. And if anything, just remember that chords and scales are really linked together. They're strongly joined to the hip. There's no chords without scales, and you can figure out the scales by looking at the chords. Again, this is not going to work on every single chord progression. It's going to work on diatonic chord progressions that are in a single key. If you have two or more keys, we're dealing with modulation, and there are other things you can do. But knowing that truth, that chords are extracted from scales is really going to help, I think, your understanding of music, and it can really save your life. And for those of you who feel that this was too much theory and these lessons are too theory orientated, well, A, why are you watching them? B, knowing music theory is not going to take away your ability to play with soul. You either play with soul or not. You're either a passionate player or not. If someone with a lot of soul learns music theory, it's not going to take away from his soul. If someone does not have any soul and learns all the theory in the world, he's not going to play with soul. He's not going to have any feelings. Feelings is from your being. It's a self-exploration thing, and that's what it is. Theory is not going to help that. I know, of course I know, but it's not going to hurt it. You can get a pack of backing tracks, including the one that we used in this lesson, for free. All you need to do is visit the link below, enter your best email address, and I'll be sending you that. And if this was your first visit here, you should subscribe, because I have at least 3 videos coming every single week, helping guitar players like you find your voice, develop it to tell your own beautiful musical story. Thanks for watching this. I'll see you next time.